partly to mostly sunny on Friday.
Opinions expressed are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect that of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.
Pleasant good afternoon and welcome to the Commissioner's Corner, sponsored by the Virgin Islands Department of Education. I am your Commissioner, Dr. Dionne Wells-Hedrington, and it's always a pleasure to be with you every Tuesday at 5:30 right here on WTJX YouTube and Facebook platform, as well as VIDE Facebook and YouTube platform, and 93.1 FM. At VIDE, it never ends. We always have lots and lots and lots to discuss. And so it's with great pleasure that I introduce these two wonderful ladies that have agreed to join me here today to talk a little bit about assessments and the importance of us measuring our students' performance, because at the end of the day, education is about educating our children and making sure that they have what they need in order to be successful, productive citizens in life. And at VIDE, we believe that we are transforming today's learners into tomorrow's leaders. So I am going to introduce my special guest this afternoon. With me is my Deputy Commissioner of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Renee Charleswell. Welcome, Dr. Charleswell.
Welcome, Commissioner. Happy to be here. Good evening to our viewing and listening audience. Look forward to talking about assessment this evening.
And we love that you are here with us. Now, I don't believe in butchering people's names, but with me is my Director of Assessments, and I know you have a different title, but you're in charge of every assessment for me. And so this lady is new to the VIDE family, but Miss Semper, tell me how to pronounce your first name. Uilez. Oh, that's easy. So I was trying to do more than I needed to do. All right. Miss Uilez Semper is going to talk with us as well as Dr. Charleswell about the importance of assessment. And as we were meeting to debrief, I mentioned to both of the ladies that I know about standardized assessments. And, you know, when I was going through my high school career and even in college, you know, I struggled when it came to being at ease in test taking. I would get anxiety and all these things would be happening that would impact my performance on assessments. And so when we start to get into the conversation, I want us to explain to the community why is it important that we test our students. And I'm going to begin with you, Dr. Charleswell, and then I'll segue to Ms. Semper.
Wonderful. So, Commissioner, when I look at assessment, I look at it from a wide lens.
Okay.
I know many times people look at it as what students are able to achieve at a particular grade level and what they should know. However, learning is a continuous measure that builds upon the known and unknown. It's a cycle. So assessments doesn't determine where students should begin or where they should end. It's a continuous cycle that speaks to all the things that students are exposed to. It not only speaks to their strengths, it also speaks to their deficits, but it also speaks to strategies that can be used. It's like a prescriptive way of determining how we can support student learning. So for me, it's a wide lens, and it captures just about everything. It captures the basis of the foundation as to what VID stand for, and that is the holistic, educating the holistic child. We must be able to look at assessment, not at something that happens between a particular time of the year and then once that ends, that's it, but a continuous process that shows improvement or, like I said, lack of over time. However, it has to be a holistic view.
Correct. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because Ms. Semper, I would like you to elaborate a little bit on the types of assessments that we use at VID.
Great. Good evening again. I am thrilled to report that in the Virgin Islands, we use the most rigorous and advanced 21st century testing instruments available in the nation. To begin with, our Head Start program uses what's called a LAP 3, or Learning Achievement Performance Test, that measures where a student is from Head Start. And what it does is it prepares teachers to get the children ready for kindergarten. Sometimes we refer to it as voluntary pre-kindergarten or Head Start. What they're doing is testing. In the beginning, they screen to see how much the student starts with and where they need to go. These are criterions, or basically what are the standards that we have to teach so that these students can have the knowledge base that they need to move on to the next grade level. So that's the LAP 3. Once a student gets to kindergarten, they have LAP 3 screeners as well in kindergarten, but then they also get what's called iReady. And the iReady begins in kindergarten and goes to the 8th grade. iReady is utilized as a formative testing instrument. And what it does is allows for teachers in schools to know where the students are with criterion. That again means standard base knowledge. How much do these students actually know, and what do they need to know? And the only way to find out is to test based on what the standard is. After kindergarten through 8th grade, we utilize what's called a Smarter Balanced Assessment. Now, the Smarter Balanced Assessment is probably more familiar with the community because high schoolers are taking that and they're more vocal about the types of tests they're taking. So you'll hear it more. I don't think elementary students are talking about iReady as much. But the Smarter Balanced Assessment is also criterion reference testing, which begins with what we call interim assessments. So interim assessments are formative assessments that take a look at how much a student actually knows, again, and prepares teachers to now drive curriculum and instruction, what they're actually doing in the classroom based on the data that they get from these interim assessments. I know a lot of people get the impression that our students are being tested a lot, but what I think they need to look at is there's only one way to understand how much our children know, and that's to actually assess where they are.
Correct.
And that's what these interim assessments do. They tell you where they are, and then they allow for the instruction to drive curriculum and what's happening in the classroom so that the kids can prepare for the next level.
Absolutely.
At the end of the year with the same...
I want to stop you 1 second. iReady. And one of the things I want the community to understand is VIDE doesn't lack resources. So, all that we hear about not having resources. When you look at the curriculum and the resources that we have in the Virgin Islands, it's top notch. When we travel to other districts, they're using the same instruments to help to close that achievement gap. And so can you talk a little bit about iReady? Because what I love about iReady program, when we first brought it into the district when I was Insular Superintendent, was the fact that each child got their own prescription.
That's exactly
It's
right.
individualized. So wherever that child was when they tested at the beginning of the year, they had a prescription to get them to where we needed them to be in order to master those skills. Can you talk a little bit about how that program works and its benefits?
It's first of all to piggyback off of what you just said. You are absolutely correct. We utilize an enormous amount of resources in providing 21st century tools for our students and teachers. And we are second to none when it comes to that.
Say it again.
Second to none.
All right.
and I can tell you that with full assurance, because in the industry of testing, the instrument that we actually use, iReady, Smarter Balance, they are rated as the top testing instrument in the nation. They're rated that high because of how rigorous they are. Now, nothing's perfect, and summative assessments are not the only way to measure your student, but as far as quality of assessment, we are absolutely 100% utilizing the best of what's available to us. iReady is one of those, I don't want to say AI because they're still trying to advance the technology on how those algorithms are actually used, but iReady is implementing AI within their item bank development system, which means what they do is they take a look at how long a student takes on a question, for example, and then they generate questions or content that would better prepare that student to answer the following question. It's immediate. As well as, like you said, prescriptions. When a student is tested or utilizes any of the interim assessments throughout the school year, because iReady is utilized throughout the school year, what it does is the system actually generates resources or what we call printables for the teacher to drive instruction based on what that intelligence has shown them is a learning gap for that student. And it's specific to that student based on his or her performance on that particular assessment.
You are a teacher, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you start to teach?
That's a long time ago, Dr. Hedrington.
Did you have that?
I'm sorry?
Did you have that? Did you have iReady?
We did not have iReady.
Okay. When did you start to teach, Dr. Charleswell?
Back in the late 90s.
Okay. And I think...
Aging ourselves
here. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying because, times have changed. Our children have changed and their needs have changed.
Absolutely.
But what I want to drive home to the community is... And at VIDE, we're keeping up with the change in times. And one of the things that we're focusing on is making sure that we are bridging those gaps that we see in student learning so that they can be successful. Our goal is to have students on grade level at every single grade level. And so even in the midst of all the challenges that we've had, I really have to say that we're in a good place. That if we use the systems and programs that we have with Fidelity, our students will have no choice other than to achieve.
Absolutely.
And so it's just a matter of using the resources that we have. But because our show is so limited in time, and trust me, we're going to extend this show longer come January because a half an hour goes very fast, right? I want us to touch a little bit on accountability. And Dr. Charleswell, you've been here since I started in this position, and we've been colleagues for a number of years. Yes. You've had several positions, but we always hear the word accountability. Dr. Charleswell, what is accountability?
So, Commissioner, accountability is ensuring that individuals, and I'm looking at all stakeholders, are tasked with a responsibility, because think about it. For our students to, or for us to close the achievement gap, our students have to be present. Okay? So accountability stems from not just what teachers are doing in the classroom or what's happening at the school level or even at the VID higher level, but what happens in a home. How are we supporting student learning? Ensuring that our students are in school so that they're getting that instruction, getting that education, but ensuring that we have the tools in place to support learning, all the resources, and as we mentioned before, we do have the resources. I can speak to that, given some initiatives that we did over the years. But accountability starts with ensuring that each one of us play a role as a key stakeholder in ensuring that all students meet or surpass where they're at. And when we say that, we're not just talking about Gen Ed students. We're talking about students with special needs. Yes, our subgroups, our ESL population, but ensuring that from the whole gamut, from the beginning to the end, that everyone has a stake in this. Everyone understands their role. And for me right now, that accountability piece is heavy because that gap is not going to close if each piece of the puzzle isn't coming together.
And I'm glad you said that, because accountability is for all of us.
Absolutely.
And so at VIDE, I believe that we are in a good position. And when I say that community, I'm talking about us laying a solid foundation so that we have a roadmap of where we're going. And so we developed the strategic plan, and our schools have developed their school improvement plans, and then our districts have developed their district improvement plans based on, the similarities in the school improvement plans. And our school improvement plans include achievement goals. So this year, our schools will be measured, if they were able to achieve the goals that they've set as a school to close the achievement gap. But in addition to that, we are implementing our accountability framework. And Director Semper, you are charged with that. Can you tell the community what is an accountability framework? What does that entail?
Well, accountability framework really is a measurement tool. And just as Dr. Charleswell has stated, it tells us where we're at and where we need to be. So when you have a framework, it's kind of like an outline. It says, here's where you are, and here's what you need to do to get to where you say you want to be. Okay. And so if we say we want to be at 5 stars,
that's right.
Here's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to, can I talk about attendance? Okay. So if we want to be at 5 stars, we're going to have to all participate in bringing our school attendance rates up to where we say we want it to be. Right now, most schools want to be around 95% attendance rate. That means on any given day of the week, 95% of your students are attending school. They're there when the doors open and they're ready to learn. Some of the other framework features are how well a student is doing in the courses that they're enrolled in. And so if you have a student that's enrolled in 7 courses in a school year, you have to be able to show that there is growth taking place. Oftentimes we hear, that our students are not doing well. There is a whole lot involved in a student's performance. And that's something that framework focuses on. How much growth is taking place in each student's academic career from one grade level to a next. And so there are actually thresholds that are established, not unilaterally. There's not just one person saying, I want this student to have a 90% across the board. No, there are many people, professional experts involved in developing thresholds and cut scores that determine whether or not a child is performing where they need to perform.
Correct.
And so usually we want to make sure our students are performing at grade level. We have 4 levels that we look at when we look at scores. We have below grade level. We have reaching or at grade level. We have proficient, which is 3, and then we have exceeds grade level. And so these Established levels is what help us to develop framework where we are and where we want to be. Are our students performing where we need them to perform? And why is this important? This is important because you want for your child, I want for my child,
Of course.
in the event that you decide or life decides you need to pack up and go somewhere, anywhere USA, tomorrow, you want for your child to be able to arrive at that destination, be enrolled in a school at that destination, and pick up where they left off.
Of course.
And the only way we can assure that that can take place is if we are operating with fidelity on a standardized level that's the same wherever you go in the United States of America. We are a U.S. territory.
So you touched on something. So we're getting ready to implement our accountability framework. We're getting ready to look at different indicators to determine whether our schools are 1-star to 5-star. And I liken it to us going and booking a hotel. I am not going to be staying in a 1-star hotel. My goal is always to be in a 5-star. And so 5-star is top of the line. And that is ultimately the goal that we would like every single school in the territory to achieve. And so we're starting with baseline. We've established our baseline data. We are looking at our growth this year. We've charted our course to achieving that growth that will get us to the 5-star. So I can say with confidence, Dr. Charleswell, that we are on the road to success, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Correct. Director Semper, you touched on something that I need you to dive deeper into. And that is a level 2 on the Smarter Balanced Assessment that we are often graded on by the community as an indicator of whether our children can read or not, or perform in math or not. One indicator, and I'm stressing one indicator because statistics will show you that you have to have multiple data points to actually be able to decide whether a child can or cannot in any particular discipline. But I digress. So you mentioned the Smarter Balanced Assessment and the fact that we have level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. And as you go up the ladder, you go up in complexity of the problems.
Right.
But what does level 2 mean? Can you talk to the community a little bit about level 2?
So our schools are designed in 10-month school calendars, or the calendar year for school is 10 months. When a student starts the school year in August now, we used to start in September. When we start in August now, you have what is called a beginning score, right? Or where the student is at the beginning of the year, or BOY. At the beginning of the year, you are using the scores from the student's May summative exams or tests. Those test results will let you know whether or not the student is prepared for that current school year. So you test in May of 2024, and in August of 2024, those results tell us where you are and where you need to be. Level 2 means that you are right at grade level.
Okay.
And so the tricky part about level 2 is that you're nearly meeting the criterion for proficiency, nearly meeting it. You are at grade level, but there are so many factors that we don't calculate when we talk about these levels. So the reason why I gave you that little
My little cheat sheet.
preface
Yes.
is because we are also not taking into consideration that when they tested in May, what comes after May? Summer. So we have a little learning loss. Usually within the first quarter of school, a student is going to be given some rigorous interim assessments, testing, academics that will bring them back up to speed, let's say, after being out of school for the entire summer. So nearly meets, which is what level 2 means, nearly meets simply means that by the time that school year, that 2024 school academic year is complete, that student should be on grade level or proficient.
Right.
And some students will actually be exceeding grade level, depending on how much they apply themselves. There are so many different factors. Dr. Hedrington, you mentioned earlier that when you were in school, you had what is now called test anxiety. Test anxiety is real.
Oh, yeah.
It is real. And for anyone that has a student in any school right now, most parents and guardians, family members know that our students are tested an awful lot. That in and of itself fosters an atmosphere of anxiety. The average person does not like to test. But what I would like for us to be able to do is start building a community that supports what these tests actually mean. Instead of looking at it as something punitive, something that, you know, oh, we have to do this again. We have to do this again. Let's look at it as these assessments tell us where our students are, make us aware of how much they know, and prepare us to design instruction for where they need to be. Right. And that's really what the results of these tests tell us. And let's not just focus on the level 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's so much more going on in the performance of a student and what a student is achieving besides a score. In fact, the instrument that we actually use, Smarter Balance, they actually release public service announcements that tell you, do not factor just a summative exam as the sole measurement of how much your student knows. It just you cannot just use one.
And I'm glad you said that, because when I tell you that VIDA is moving in the right direction, when we look at our accountability framework, we're not doing that. That is a piece. Proficiency and reading on grade level and performing in mathematics on grade level is a piece. We're looking at attendance. We're looking at growth in our students. At the high school level, we're looking at our graduation rates. And so we're looking holistically at the overall picture of each individual child as well as the department on a whole. Now, this gentleman here is putting up 2 fingers to tell me I have 2 more minutes. Y'all believe that?
No way.
Oh, way. So I tell you, time goes so fast. Be prepared to come back on my show again, because we need to dive a little bit deeper into our results. And so I'm putting that bug in your ear, Dr. Charleswell. We're going to be traveling over to St. Croix for the show. But we got to dive into our data so that we can show the community exactly where we are and what it means and where we have planned to move the territory forward. But I will say this to the community. Our data has shown tremendous growth. Yes, and this is what I wanted to see. Some schools achieved more than others, but everybody's trajectory is moving forward for the most part. And so we're just going to continue that momentum. So we are down to 30 seconds. Dr. Charleswell, tell the community what you want to say in regards to assessments and what they need to be looking out for.
So for me, Kamish, it's changing the face of assessment. Again, we're not going to look at a sole assessment tool as the only determining factor for student achievement. We have to look at this thing holistically. This cannot be the detriment of our students, because we know what our students are capable of. They leave here and they go to the mainland or other places and they excel. So we know once they can do it there, they can do it anywhere. So these assessments are on the picture that we want to paint.
30 seconds.
I want to say that we need to celebrate the growth that has been taking place consecutively over the last 3 years.
Yes.
I want to also mention and congratulate the ELA department. They've shown the most growth.
Yes.
The data has shown us that ELA has made remarkable growth over the last 3 years. I want to say that our teachers are remarkable and our students are doing well.
Yes, so we're going to wrap up right now. I want to thank the community for tuning in at 93.1 FM and our Facebook and YouTube pages for VIDE and WTJX. See you next Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on the Commissioner's Corner. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect that of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.